Now we're going to move over to paid search marketing. A lot of corporations either do this at a very high level and focus on branded terms, and they're missing about 90% of the traffic, or they're leaving it to their dealer channel or franchise channel or their independent sales organizations to do. And often what you find is that because they don't spend a lot of time doing it, they're very ineffective at it, and a lot of them either are paying way too much on a cost per click basis, or they're frankly not doing it at all. In this specific case here, you can actually see that Marvin actually had some corporate spend that they were doing, but they were driving them to Marvin's homepage and didn't have a lot of conversion opportunity there, although they did have a form. Driving them to this specific page isn't probably as relevant as maybe other pages. And you can see here in this example too, one of their top dealers was also driving traffic, but again to their homepage, which didn't allow for optimization of conversion.
So what happens when you align these things together and work to create a comprehensive program for paid search is you actually can really, with the same amount of money being spent, you can lower the cost per lead significantly and also increase the number of leads that are coming into your website. So the way that we do that is you obviously research the keywords, make sure that you're only bidding on the keywords that will actually cause people to convert. Bid management, increasing the number of bids that you put out there in order to lower cost, and then overall just measuring things like conversion tracking and geo-targeting to increase that response for the same amount of spend.
Right.
Yeah, we've got a question that's come in from the audience. And the question is, my Yellow Page company sells paid search packages. Is that the same thing?
That's a good question. So Yellow Page companies selling paid search, a lot of times what they do is they'll pay for sort of the bottom feeder of the traffic that's out there. So you'll get remnant traffic or traffic that's not the best quality, and they can never really guarantee a certain volume. So what I liken it to is, in the Yellow Pages right now, you might get a certain number of impressions, traditionally, but the way that you position yourself higher is by managing your own program, and sometimes you need to pay a premium for the better traffic. And also, they're just not very transparent with the information they give you. So doing your own program or having somebody manage a program for you will get you a lot better results, more action, and a lot more transparency into where your money is going.
And you can see in this example from a results perspective, I know these charts might be hard to read, but you can see the client went from spending $487 a lead when they were doing this in-house to $77 after working with us and actually helping us optimize not only their paid search campaigns, but where exactly the prospect was landing when they actually went to the website. And so you can see lowered the cost and then increased their leads from 82 a month to 877. So in this specific case, the client was extremely happy. Jeff, I'm going to have you talk about local search here.
Sure. So you may have noticed that when you do a search on the search engines, sometimes without even typing in the name of a city, you will get a result that shows a Google map embedded on the search result. This is becoming more and more prominent. We don't see any reason why this would go away, because Google's really designing this to try to create more, to give you information that you need and help you find a local provider for certain things. You're not going to need a national provider to replace your Windows. You're looking for somebody who's local. So this is becoming more and more prominent. Yet what most companies end up not doing very well is optimizing that ranking. They don't do things like solicit reviews. They don't even claim their page within Google Places. And really, there's a lot of companies that are missing the mark here pretty significantly when it comes to local search.
Yeah, and we did an audit for a client and found that in their top 10 dealers, only one of them actually had anything close to being optimized for local search. This is a huge opportunity and often overlooked by many dealers, franchises, or the corporate location trying to help their dealer channel or their sales channel maximize this.
Yeah, and when you think about it overall, it is a lot of it. You need to understand and learn how this marketplace works and how this works. There's a lot of knowledge that needs to go into how local directories work in order to rank properly. So what we do is we recommend that people go to a website called getlisted.org to see if they've claimed their listings at all already. And then if you look on the right-hand side, these are some of the different local directories that Google and other sites use to pull into their directories. So they're not just looking at what's on your Google map listing or what's on your Yahoo local. They're actually looking at things like Yelp, local.com, City Search. All these different search engines are all aggregated to form your local presence. And when we look at it, if 20% of all searches have local intent, I would say that number is even significantly higher when you're looking at somebody who's looking for a service in their home. This is something that there's a lot of opportunity to capitalize on here, and most companies just don't have the knowledge to go to each one of these places and claim those listings. Continuing with the local, and then thinking about how local search and social media tie together, another thing that we've noticed is that reviews are a very important area to try to put some personal and human connection to your business, where it might not normally be something that people associate with a very transparent and humanized industry. So for the example we're giving here is there's a lot of companies that have listings on Google Places or elsewhere, but they're not doing a very good job of getting people to review them. And when there's no reviews on the internet, it's really difficult to understand if that company is a good company, how long they've been in business, whether they're trustworthy. A lot of times now when you're searching online, you look for other people's opinions to understand that. So the example on the right-hand side is somebody who's done a great job of soliciting reviews from their clients, and as a result of these reviews, they rank high on local search, but then also they end up getting a lot more leads because people can know that they can trust them or understand how people feel about that company. And other things you can do with the social media marketing we recommend, in addition to reviews, is there's obviously a lot of opportunity with Facebook. As you know, Facebook is the first or second most visited website on the internet. A lot of companies are going online and creating pages, but where a lot of companies fall short is they just put the page out there and just hope that people are going to find them. There's a lot of things that you need to do in order to promote that page, in order to get people to find you and to interact with you. In addition to Facebook, another thing that a lot of companies that are successful and ahead of the curve do is they will produce videos, how-to videos, to demonstrate their expertise. Really, the consumer is looking to you as an expert in your field, and producing a video to show how good you are can do two things. One, it lets them trust you. Two, a lot of times it shows how difficult it actually is for them to do this themselves, and it leads them to hire a contractor to do that installation.
Question?
Yeah, we've got another question that's come in, and it's asking, can you comment on how companies are using social media to actually generate leads, as far as new prospects?
Yeah, so I think that the reviews and local search is a big way that people are using it to generate leads. Facebook is one way that people are at least generating interest, not necessarily leads. But this whole concept of really interacting with your clients or your potential customers and putting yourself out there, the savvy ones that get it, the ones that blog, the ones that do all this stuff, they end up seeing a lot of people, a lot of more eyeballs coming in to their website. And those eyeballs, if you get enough of them, eventually equate to more leads coming in.
And in addition to that, we've actually created some new applications where we're actually linking Facebook pages using iframes and actually connecting those back to the website, where we can actually do online couponing or other types of lead promotion or lead capture, and actually getting those from Facebook. It still looks seamless, like you're within the Facebook environment, and actually capturing those leads and then turning them into potential appointments for your channel. Now we're going to talk about immediate follow-up. One of the things that was very interesting to us was that a lot of companies, when we first would start creating lead generation opportunities for them, was the fact that they wouldn't follow up with them. And they would say, hey, these internet leads aren't that great, and what we'd find out is that they'd be sitting on somebody's desk for days in some cases. And this MIT study basically substantiated what we always thought, which was, look, you have to follow up on these leads like any other lead. Like, imagine like it's the phone ringing and how you would respond to it. And this isn't any typo. It's 2,100% improvement if you respond within the first 5 minutes of the initial request versus waiting 30 minutes. Yet if you look at this chart on a survey that was done, 37% of companies, U.S. companies, only respond within 1 hour. Huge opportunity for taking someone who's expressed interest in your products and services and turning them into a potential lead. There's another question in here. It says, is a franchise organization that is downside to corporations buying branded terms? I've heard two responses. First, that it raises the price, and second, that it increases coverage for more leads. Thoughts?
Yeah, so this is a question we get all the time. Do you buy your own brand name as a keyword? I highly recommend that you do buy your brand name as a keyword. One thing is that the argument about it increasing costs is that usually it is the cheapest click you can buy on Google, since there's not a lot of people bidding for it, and since you are the person who owns that name, you will have a high quality score. As we know, high quality scores will lower the price per click. So a lot of times you'll get a very effective click at somewhere between 5 and 10 cents a click. You'll always be in the first position. Position is obviously very important when it comes to search, because if you're not in the first position, then it's yours to lose. So you got to be there. The other thing is that there's a lot of opportunity to track and to understand what's happening with those keywords. So you can actually, with the paid search, you actually get to know what the true return on your investment is, what the conversion rate is. You can control the reputation of your company by pushing down other people who might be unscrupulous or people who have negative reviews of you. There's a lot more benefits to that than the money being spent.
But I think the other question she's really asking is that if the corporation's doing paid search and now I have a local location also doing paid search, aren't I just bidding up the cost of those terms and almost against each other, versus am I getting double placement now? So
are you cannibalizing the results?
Correct.
And that is a question that comes up all the time as well. I think the key here is to coordinate. So if you are working on if you are at a national level as the brand, and you're putting out advertising, then it's key to communicate with your outlets, your sales outlets, to make sure that you're all on the same page. One thing we employ is a strategy where the brand is always going to be number one, and you let them know what your bid is to become number one, and then you say you can be position 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to be, but always let us be number one. A lot of times that happens naturally. But yes, it is not a great thing when you bid up prices, but that is an inevitability. The other answer I'd say is, when you look at the marketplace for a local area, if there's one person bidding on your brand name in your area, that the cost won't be very expensive. But if there's 8 people bidding, would you rather have 2 of the 8 people bidding be your brand and your dealer network, or do you rather have only one of them be there?
Or your competitors, right?
Exactly. So going back to the going 3 recommendation around the contact center, as you can see from the previous chart, if you don't answer within 5 minutes, you're severely limiting your chances of closing that lead. So a lot of times answering inbound calls or any web form immediately is really the best practice you can do. So you got to get back to them right away. A lot of times we like to do, we recommend using a scripted process so that you're consistent with everybody you talk to, and so that you don't forget key information you need in order to process that lead. And then a lot of times you can do things like provide a warm transfer over to the dealer. So if somebody's interested at that time, or if they're a now buyer, you can actually send them over right away. And then tracking, using tracking to really understand how this is affecting your ROI, whether these leads and keywords, whatever it is that's driving this person, is effective or not.
Great. So we kind of summarized those 5 topics around, many corporations and their dealer channel, or their franchise channel, their field sales channels have these challenges. And we've been in this marketplace, and because we're focused on the home improvement industry, we understand that in a lot of cases they're never fixed. And so what we talked about, that these website changes can have a lead flow increase by 30% or more. Few companies fix them. Either corporately they can't because they're handcuffed in some respects by the RT organization, or the dealers can't fix them because they don't have the technical capacities or the time to do it. Pay-per-click marketing can obviously increase, but a lot of times corporations are slow to react, or there's this handshake between them and the dealers, and they're not sure how to exactly do it, per the previous comment. And then trying to optimize around local search, it's not just apply to one directory, there's many directories, and there's a little bit of heavy lifting that has to go on there, and most field sales channels or franchises or dealers just aren't equipped to do it and don't have the time. And then successful social media marketing, that landscape's constantly changing, and unless you're absolutely on top of it from an ongoing perspective, it's hard to keep up with to make sure that you're maximizing your lead. And then lastly, on the platform, or at least having a call center or a contact center, those are things that could be done, but in a lot of cases the dealer channel or the field sales channel isn't equipped to do it, and they could use some help or some direction from corporate on how to get that done effectively. So